Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have our next guest joining us, Dr. Mamiko Odegard. She's a psychologist, relationship therapist, best-selling author at Biz Life Success Incorporated, and so much more. She joins us today live to talk, about her. We're going to get to know her and then all the work she does that you can benefit from. She is an award-winning love and relationship expert and so much more. So first and foremost, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Oh, I am doing great. Thank you so much, Jill. It's so exciting to be here and to be able to connect with your audience.
Beautiful. And currently, where are you located?
I am in Scottsdale, Arizona.
I'm so jealous. I read that and I was like, oh, maybe she moved. I don't know. But that's one of my favorite towns. God bless you. Enjoy
Well,
the
thank you.
beautiful weather.
I know it's 80 degrees today, if you could believe it. So that's probably going
Wow.
to make a lot of people jealous.
Now, can I ask were you from originally?
Thanks for asking that. I was born in Japan and I came over to the States when I was 7 years of age and immigrated here because my father was in the military.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can't wait to dive into your background. And in the meantime, let's just talk a little bit about who you are. People want to get to know who this woman is, this doctor known as the Love Doctor, right? Or Dr.
Yes,
Love. Tell
exactly.
us, tell us, tell us.
Well, if I go back to the story of when I came to the States at 7, I experienced shame for the first time. And shame is really different than guilt because you don't have to do anything wrong to
Yeah,
feel shame-based.
yeah,
Because shame is a feeling of inadequacy, feeling inferior, feeling less than, and feeling different. And I definitely felt all those feelings when I
yeah.
came over because I didn't speak the language.
Ah,
Obviously, I looked different and felt different. And
yeah,
so kids would tease and bully me. And so that's when I became very aware of my ethnicity and my appearance. And those are things that I couldn't change. So believe it or not, my beginnings of becoming the love and relationship expert really started at that time because I wanted to be liked and accepted just like all kids that age. And I knew that I couldn't just wait for the situation to change. And
hmm,
so I began to look at myself and decide, like, what's the type of person that I want to be? I wanted to be magnetic. I wanted to have a good sense of humor. I wanted to be able to reach out to people, carry conversations, but most of all, to show friendship, that I could be somebody that they could trust, that they could really put their arms around, emotionally, physically. And that's what happened, is that I really changed so that I became assertive and took my own destiny, if you will, into my hands. And speaking of shame, there was
yeah.
something that happened when I was 10 years old, and that is fourth grade is when things get really tough. And what I want you to know
My
is that,
son's in fourth grade now. I have one in second and fourth, so I gotta really listen to this one. Go ahead. What happens?
okay, so you know that, Jill, that in the fourth grade, that's when academically things get to be tough. And when I came over here, I didn't speak the language, I didn't know how to read or write. And so I began to fall behind. And I had this fourth grade teacher that I just couldn't stand because she was so mean to me. She even had this conference with my mother and said, Mamiko is really stubborn. And so I'm not going to pass her. And so she held me back. And I was so angry and disheartened and feeling ashamed that I didn't get to go on with the rest of my class. But that was the biggest blessing in disguise because that's when I repeated and I got that information and I began to really improve academically and I could really merge and be on par with everybody else. And that inspired me to always be my best self and to see challenges not as obstacles, but something that's going to help you grow when you overcome that challenge.
My goodness, thank you. And I commend you on coming here the way you did, not knowing. And it's amazing what the mind, body, and soul, the brain could do. And I just wish here, by the way, in the States in New York, that they would start teaching other languages to our children. They don't do that here. But look at you. I just don't understand why still. But how long did it take, by the way, to learn English? What was that like? Ah,
Well, the English, it probably took like 2 or 3 years to really, become fluent and to be able to completely understand. And, the reading progressed as I went through the fourth grade, fifth grades. And then, you know, believe it or not, one of the careers that I had um, in my past life was as a college professor, college instructor. And so I developed psychology classes and taught them. And one of the things that I would do the very first day is I would teach all of my students study skills, no matter whether they were in lower division introductory classes or more the upper division classes. And that was something that I learned through trial and error. And that is going back to my love and the story of love, that I want you to know that that's how I began to heal myself and to overcome the shame. Is I had to absolutely accept and love myself for the person that I was, and not being a phony, but really letting that glow and that self-concept and that self-esteem really grow. And that's the secret, is that nobody's born with this magic as to how you get love and accepted, but you can actually create that becoming irresistible.
okay, well, we need to know where this passion about love came from, but I also want to point out we'll talk about her best-selling book as well, and momentarily her marital enrichment program and how she's helping so many couples and individuals transform and help with this communication heart to heart. So you brought up love. I have to jump to there right now because February is the month of love, right? So
That's
maybe it's
exactly right.
time to
And
start
it
that
all started
romance.
out
Go
with my
ahead.
husband, Greg. And if you can believe this, there was this instant connection between the two of us. We met at the library at
Ah,
Colorado State University, of all places. And once we got started talking, we just kept talking and smiling and laughing. And before we knew it, the library was closing. So we hastily exchanged our phone numbers at that time.
ah.
And that started a lifelong romance for us. And so that's one of the things that I want you to know about love, is that love is all around us. And if you can be aware and be receptive, whether you're the initiator or you respond to someone else's comments or looks, then that's the start of a chemistry. It's the start of a relationship. And I just want you to know that love could be standing there in the grocery line, or even at the vegetable counter, or in my case, it was the library of all places.
Wow. Wow, this is great. I went to the supermarket a few months ago and I was actually picking out carrots and a guy comes up to me and he's like, "Which carrots should I get?" And I'm like, I'm looking for the thin ones. I'm making a soup for my boys in the crock pot." And he's like, "Hey, are you single?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, I'm like, "But I just don't have time to date. I'm dealing with stuff and I'm about." He's like, "No, but look, I'm going to give you my number." He's like, "Because if you don't call me, one day you're going to regret not calling the guy that you met at the carrot in the carrot section." I never called him, but
Oh,
I am,
I love
but
that story.
but
That's
it's so
great.
cute.
That's
And
great.
I thought about it. He's like, because look, I'm too busy raising my kids and I'm a single mom and I don't go blah blah blah. And he's like, I don't want you to have a regret one day thinking about the guy you met in the carrot section. So call me. But so
He did call you?
no, no, he gave me his number. I didn't call him, but uh,
Oh,
but I told him I was dating someone casually at the time, and of course that didn't work out now. But we'll see. I'm on the horizon looking for new love myself. So this is a great conversation. I'm
well, I
47.
hope the guy who was asking you about the carrots is on this call and hears it in one of the podcasts.
Imagine,
Knows
yeah,
that
yep,
you
I'm here.
that he made an impression. And that's what I want your listeners to know, is that you can be that
Hmm.
irresistible force. And he was. Not only the fact that he had the guts to approach you, but he also said, you're going to regret this, and gave you his number. So that's a beautiful story. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing yours, Mike. Now, how many years have you been together with your husband for?
Over 50 years.
Oh
if you
my
can believe.
goodness. So you really have the secret to success. I'm sure there's ups and downs, but someone who's really, I mean, there's a lot of doctors out there who are, relationship experts, but some of them have been married, divorced, not in a relationship, right? So
Right,
you
kind of
really,
divorcers and marriages.
this is why we need to see you. Oh my goodness. Now,
And
there's,
if you can believe it, Greg, when I met him, was my dreamboat. He was the man of my dreams. And even now, after all these years, our love keeps getting richer and growing, and he's still the man of my dreams. So how about that? But I get to pinch him and hold him. So he really
oh,
is real.
this is beautiful, and you're giving me hope, and so many people out there, I think, listening to this today because, oh, yeah, it is the month of love, and I'm still feeling passionate and hopeful myself. So this is great. So, how do we start to really experience this type of remarkable love?
Oh, it's really easy because I want you to know that you don't have to wait to be approached like this guy at the supermarket, but instead, you can make a connection with someone just by smiling or knowing how to start conversations. And that's, we're going to be having a series of podcasts. And so I'm going to go into more depth about how you start conversations and how you keep that person interested and curious about who you are and where you want to find out about the other person. So, but I want you to know that the universe rewards action. So that's one of the things that I want you to get from this podcast today is that the universe rewards action. So if you do nothing, you kind of go and you're kind of stuck in your situation. But when you take initiative and you take action, whether it's speaking, smiling, asking the other person a question, like the gentleman did, then you are empowered. And that's the basic message is that start with yourself first.
Okay.
You can't control the other person, but you can certainly control your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And you're going to get results too.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, hold on. You were on the Dr. Laura Berman show. Can you tell us about this? And
you
wait,
know,
wait,
I
tell
have
tell us who she
to.
is if those people out there don't know. And I can't tell me.
Okay, so yes, my husband Greg and I were nominated and appeared as the couple of the week, believe it or not. And
Oh
that's
my
because
goodness.
that's because not only our love is extraordinary, but we kept our love alive and faithful and trustworthy and growing all during the years that Greg commuted back and forth from whatever his job or career location was to Scottsdale. And so he commuted for 27 years. Can you imagine that? And can you imagine the type of trust that has to be there between people? So, anyway, what happened is that Greg would leave on a Sunday or Monday, depending on his meeting, and then he'd fly in every single Friday. And so it was so joyful, when we would get together that every weekend became a honeymoon weekend. Now, I want you to know that we have a daughter named Marisa. That's the joy of our lives. And so then when she was born, things changed a little bit. But what happened is that Greg made special time for each of us and for our family. So,
Oh,
like Fridays, when after she was born, the three of us would greet him at the airport, and it was
mm,
like a big homecoming, right? A big
oh,
celebration. And then Saturdays, Greg and I would have our private time, go to the movies, go exercise together, play golf, all kinds of different things. And then Saturday morning, though, he'd actually let me sleep in because I was like a single parent
ah,
all during the week. He'd let me sleep in, and our daughter would come bouncing into our room
ah.
8 o'clock in the morning. She was only 5, but she could, we taught her. We taught her that she can't come into our room until 8 o'clock. So she would watch, the clock and she'd say, Daddy, it's 8 o'clock. And so he'd jump out of bed and they do this thing called two can do, which is an arts and craft. And so he would spend quality time with her while I,
Yeah.
and then after they got through doing that, he'd take her around the neighborhood and because we're living in the desert, he would teach us all about the environment. He's a biologist and botanist and ecologist by nature. That's his doctoral degree. And so then they go exploring in the desert. Then we also had construction going on in our neighborhood. And so they go to these houses and our daughter would look down at some of the incomplete works and she'd say, "Oh, Marisa, history," because it would be such a big drop down. So it's probably things that we shouldn't have been doing, but they had their special time. And so even to this day, as an adult, then Marisa just loves her dad. And if truth be told, I think she's actually closer to him than to me, where they have so much fun together. She tells him everything. And so that's where, I'm saying that it's not about how much time you spend together. It's about that quality of time. And so then we'd all come together again as a family and share special events and activities. And it could be really simple activities, like I say, like exploring the desert.
Beautiful. Wow, this is amazing. I'm so excited because really, gosh, your passion, your story, and how you're helping people. And I want to talk about, I got to get into the three I's for individuals, couples, and we want to talk about coaching versus therapy, counseling. There's so much to talk about. So I just want to make sure we're covering everything because there's so much to you and what you have to offer. So, what did you want to join us and talk about in the conversation next?
Well, let me tell you this, and that is I had talked about, the three I's. And for those of you who are not familiar with that, then the first I is being irresistible. So Greg was magnetic in that sense that the grocery store, that gentleman was magnetic in his own way. And what I want you to know is that that doesn't just magically happen. And it's not just a matter of chance, but instead it's about how you present yourself and being warm and connected with someone so that they want to know you. They want to
And
work
get
with you.
to
They
know
want to
you
be
and
your teammate. They
explore.
want to be your friend, all those sorts of things. So it starts right there. And the second is invincible. I want you to be unstoppable because that means that we're going to have all kinds of obstacles coming our way. Like there are times when Greg and I would have arguments, right? And those arguments oftentimes were on Fridays when he would be stressed of flying and
Yep.
working and all that. And so, this is something that we had to learn how to overcome. And we didn't want the tensions and the anger and the frustration to ruin our short weekend time together. And so we learned how to really communicate and how to work out differences so that we could really enjoy the rest of the weekend. And so there are times when the anger might be too much for each of you, where you start shouting and yelling and, calling names, putting the other person down, making accusations and so forth. And if that happens, then one of the things I want to teach you is how to overcome that. How do you change that energy? And that involves going back to yourself and not waiting for your partner to say or do the right thing, but instead for you to really learn how to center and rebalance yourself, just like we do in yoga and deep breathing and all
Yeah.
things. But it's really about using your mind quickly and the skills to be able to reset. Because one of the things that I'm an expert in is performance. And the performance is how you show up, which takes
Oh.
us to the third eye, and that is to be iconic, to be legendary, to be so memorable. And it's not that you have to accomplish all these things, in career or whatever. You don't have to become the president of a company. But what it does mean is how you show up. How are you showing up as an individual, as a coworker, as a parent, as a lover, so forth? Because I want you to just be iconic and just have this, not only the magnetism, but this way that you begin to feel about yourself and carry yourself and act.
Beautiful. I want the steps in becoming iconic. This is amazing, amazing, amazing.
I know. We all want to be legendary, right?
Yeah. Wow. And you really specialize in, teaching us as an individual to really empower ourselves now, right? And how that
Right.
can powerfully influence others and attract. It's like a law of
Right. And you
attraction,
mentioned,
right?
something that's so important is that, because you were single, like this month or on Valentine's Day, then I want you to have hope. I want you to have hope that true love is there. And that's the first thing that I do. It's not an assessment or anything like that. When I meet a person, I want to know about their hopes and dreams, and I want to create that blueprint so that they actually materialize it. So, in other words, I'm not about just mentally just creating it, of the manifestation. It's so much more because, like I say, it goes back to you changing your thoughts and feelings and actions so that you really do get some results and that you can have hope and you can draw whatever it is that you want, whether it's changing your life, changing your way you think, your feeling, and the outcomes.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much. What else did you want to make sure we cover for today? I mean, wow, there's a lot to still talk about. Where do we go next? Do you want to talk
Okay,
about?
so one of the things that I want people to know is the difference between coaching and therapy or counseling. Because, I'm on different sites where people are saying, I need a therapist, I need a counselor, and so forth.
Hmm.
And the first thing that
Yeah.
happens when you meet with a behavioral health individual, somebody with a master's or a PhD, then they provide a medical diagnosis. And the reason
Hmm.
for that medical diagnosis is to provide a treatment plan as to how they're going to work with you and also how long they have. And usually it's only 45 or 50 minutes. And so, especially with couples work, that's a very precarious thing to start in couples. Number one, because it's a stop and go by nature because you only have 45 or 50 minutes. So you're just starting to talk about your feelings and talk about what's
Yeah.
and your therapist says, I'm sorry, our time's up. We're going to have to reschedule. And this goes on over and over and over again. And to the point where you've got to carry that burden and emotions all throughout the week, couple of weeks, whatever the interval might be. And then you're back at it. It's kind of the same thing. It's that stop and go. And so it can actually make relationships worse. And so one of the things that I've been doing for the over the past 10 years is doing what I call VIP days. And that is, first of all, to back up a little bit, coaching is all about wellness, so that it's about how you show up. It's relationship skills that are
Yeah.
taught, new tools. It's things that you wish, someone had told you years before, because it really is helping you to be the best person that you can be, because by being the best person, you're also the best partner, the best friend, best family member, so forth. And so you've got to really start with yourself. And so going back to this VIP day
Hmm.
or the 24-hour, I don't spend 24 hours with you, but
And
it's not 8 or 9 or
yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
all together, there's actually a transformation. So whatever
Oh,
um, roadblocks that are there, trust, mistrust, whether there's been an affair, and I've actually been able to put people together, in as little as a day or two when there's been an affair. So, because then there's so much pain and there's so much
yeah.
anger, there's so much resentment and so forth. And so that's why this really works where people just feel like, wow, this is a bit of fresh air. And I actually have about a 98% success rate in doing this approach.
Wow.
And it's just marvelous. And, as the day goes on, people are always surprised as to how I seem to have more energy and insights and things. And that's because I really am speaking from the heart. And I feel like all of my experiences have come together so that I can help each person be their best selves and to be able to live in harmony, to live in joy, but especially to learn how to truly love and also how to communicate so that you can get to the rough spots and be able to resolve differences.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much. And wow, this has been a great show. I'm excited that we got to know you, and I hope our friends, people reach out to you. There's so much I want to know. Okay, you also have a special offer for us, right? Do you want to
Yes,
tell us
I
about
really
this
do.
exciting
So
invitation?
if you remember my term that, the universe rewards action, I want you to remember these words, and that is act on love. I want you to act on love towards yourself and others. And what that means is for the special offer is that if you call my office number, 480-391-1184, and that's 480-391-1184, we could actually set up a time so that you have a 30-minute free consultation that's totally private. We can get to know each other, and I'll let you know exactly how you and I, or the three of us, can work together quickly and easily to uplift your love, your confidence, your esteem, your communication, because there's so much more, so that you can truly have the love and the life that you have chosen to have.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here and for joining us today, Dr. Mamiko. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you, Jill. You're wonderful. Thank you for the questions that you've asked and your energy and your openness too.
Thank you. And let me also just remind everyone, international best-selling author on love, daily affirmations for love, 365 days of love in thought and action, overcoming self-sabotage. What is your website? How can we reach out to you one more time?
You can actually go to actonlove.com, actonlove.com, and you'll see some of the endorsements or testimonials. You'll see a little bit about my background. You'll see photos of
Great.
myself and my husband, our family, and so forth. And so there's some really great articles that are there. And by the way, if you go to my website, then please call my number, because that's going to
Yep.
get the greatest attention directly from me.
Great. One more time. Tell us the number.
480-391-1184.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day. Pleasure getting to know you, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. Can't wait.
Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.